Alright, guys, I'm back with another chapter in Genesis. We're in Genesis chapter 40, where the header reads Joseph interprets two dreams, and we're going to jump right into it. Sometime later, Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and chief baker offended their royal master. Pharaoh became angry with these two officials, and he put them in the prison where Joseph was, in the palace of the captain of the guard. They remained in prison for quite some time, and the captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, who looked after them. While they were in prison, Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker each had a dream one night, and each dream had its own meaning. When Joseph saw them the next morning, he noticed that they both looked upset. "Why do you look so worried today?" he asked them, and they replied, "We both had dreams last night, but no one can tell us what they mean." "Interpreting dreams is God's business," Joseph replied. "Go ahead and tell me your dreams." So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream first. "In my dream," he said, "I saw a grapevine in front of me. The vine had 3 branches that began to bud and blossom, and soon it produced clusters of ripe grapes. I was holding Pharaoh's wine cup in my hand, so I took a cluster of grapes and squeezed the juice into the cup. Then I placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand." "This is what the dream means," Joseph said. The 3 branches represent 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift you up and restore you to your position as his chief cupbearer. And please remember me and do me a favor when things go well for you. Mention me to Pharaoh, so he might let me out of this place. For I was kidnapped from my homeland, the land of the Hebrews, and now I'm here in prison, but I did nothing to deserve it." When the chief baker saw that Joseph had given the first dream such a positive interpretation, he said to Joseph, "I had a dream too. In my dream, there were 3 baskets of white pastries stacked on my head. The top basket contained all kinds of pastries for Pharaoh, but the birds came and ate them from the basket on my head." "This is what the dream means," Joseph told him. "The 3 baskets also represent 3 days. 3 days from now, Pharaoh will lift you up and impale your body on a pole. Then birds will come and peck away at your flesh." Pharaoh's birthday came 3 days later, and he prepared a banquet for all his officials and staff. He summoned his chief cupbearer and chief baker to join the other officials. He then restored the chief cupbearer to his former position, so he could again hand Pharaoh his cup. But Pharaoh impaled the chief baker, just as Joseph had predicted, when he interpreted his dream. Pharaoh's chief cupbearer, however, forgot all about Joseph, never giving him another thought. And so, that's the end of chapter 40. What impresses me so much is when you start to understand the timeline that Joseph had in his really in his frustrations. And I wouldn't say his fall from grace. He's within God's grace the entire time, with whoever's presence he belongs to. It says that God maintains favor, and that person gains blessings based on based on Joseph being a part of his house. So we see that in prison. We see that and I think it's Potiphar's house. And so all fantastic things. What my favorite thing that we see is the fact that Joseph still had confidence to interpret those dreams, knowing full well what dreams he had, and he's currently in prison. He had dreams of these amazing aspirations, not knowing exactly how they'd play out, but that it meant, fantastical things for him. And even though they hadn't come to fruition, he was willing to speak on God's greatness still, the timeline of both gentlemen, and the fact that both things came to fruition, and didn't shake Joseph's doubt at all. And he still even said that, hey, interpretation of dreams, that's God's business. How can I help you? And the bold and inspirational approach that Joseph had to have while being in prison and his dream hadn't come to pass is one of my favorite parts about the story of Joseph, because I couldn't imagine, and I'm hoping that I just simply grow in greater faith so that I can, but I can't imagine God showing me in a dream the greatness He has for me. And since that dream, since almost what we can assume days after that dream, sold into slavery, and if I'm not mistaken, leads at least, I think it's like 17, anywhere 15 to 20 years of slavery, imprisonment, and terrible things, until we get to the culmination of what his dream actually was and what it means. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but knowing the timeline and understanding that it's my favorite part, one of my favorite stories in the Bible, I am always blown away by his confidence in interpreting the dreams, even though his hadn't come to pass yet. He said, no, God's still God, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm here, but I know what this means. And so, here you go, do with this information as you would, but please remember me when you get put in a place of favor. And they still says that they forgot about him. And so it didn't matter. It didn't shake Joseph at all. I imagine it frustrated him. I imagine that he had to have been. And even maybe I can only imagine him being frustrated simply because that's what I would be. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe it didn't matter to him. I imagine he had preference. He would prefer not to be a prisoner. He'd prefer not to be a slave, which is why I mentioned something to the cupbearer. But it still didn't matter. God was God regardless of where he was or his circumstance. And to truly find peace in that means that you can find peace being a king, find peace being a king's servant. And that's pretty humbling. On that note, have a good night. God bless. I love you. Jesus loves you. It's getting a little dark out here. Going to get ready for bed here soon. Put my little ones to bed. But tomorrow, I'll be reading Genesis chapter 41, where the header reads, Joseph is placed in charge of Egypt. Pharaoh's dreams. Have a good night and God bless, guys. More good news tomorrow. See ya.